Well, a very good morning or other time appropriate greeting to you folks here on Speed Gaming. We bring you uh, the Swiss rounds of the Metroid Prime Randomizer 2021 tournament. We got a good one for you today, folks. The first of 5 matches that will take place on the Speed Gaming channels today. We've got Tryrex67 versus AeroRaiser. I'm Captain MD13, and today I am joined by Gunnart. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Still kind of rolling out of bed, but otherwise not too bad.
Yeah, this is a little early in the morning, so can't say I blame you. Should be a good match though, so looking forward to this one.
Absolutely. I know AeroRaiser is a frequent flyer here in the Prime Randomizer community, a very frequent flyer in the weeklies. Tyrek67 is, I believe, a bit newer to the tournament setting, although I'm sure others in chat can attest otherwise if I'm mistaken.
Most likely.
But yeah, we're hoping for a pretty good match today. No special runners agreements. They will both be running the standard settings. And we should be getting our race time room kicked off just in a moment here. Now, are there any particular item favorites that you are looking forward to, Gunnart?
Well, the baseline settings, the locations are relatively restricted, so we'll just have to see how it feels today.
Surely, yes. Last night, we had a couple of very interesting seeds. Both were very late mines artifacts. Both had artifacts in Phazon Mining Tunnel and OP.
That
So,
was quite fun.
oh yes.
Although, honestly, having all of your artifacts in one location, even if it's lower mines, can be better than having them spread around the whole game, because with them all in one location, even an awful one, you at least know to wait as long as you can.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. All right, we are off, folks. Let the games begin.
alright.
Now, as we are playing on the standard tournament settings, that means SJF is going to be in play, so we're going to see most likely our runners immediately go for that. The race is being tracked this morning by Gollop.
Tryrex does not appear to have his own timer, but luckily the race room does, so it shouldn't be a big deal.
Indeed.
Nope. Tryrex also having a little trouble. And bombs to start.
Oh, that's foreboding.
Certainly one of the more interesting... Oh, and
Ooh.
space jump didn't go very far.
Not this time.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be seeing both our runners making an immediate beeline back here as soon as they find their morph ball.
Yeah, and it could very well be Morph Ball and Hive Mecha now. So, late first missiles again? It's happened.
At least now that we have warp to start, it's not nearly as bad as it used to be.
Very true. A safe station is nice and conveniently placed in Ruin Nursery.
Here we'll get our first indication of main plaza items. It's always interesting to see what sort of mishmash we get. Looks like a missile on ledge. I believe that was another missile on the half pipe. Yes.
Sure is. And in the
another missile.
Missile Plaza, this is feeling eerily like last night's match of Lenifus versus Mighty Caesar.
Nothing. Very slow start, other than that space jump, it seems.
Yeah, doesn't look like there's much we can do except waltz all the way over to Hive Mecha.
Now once the runners get their space jump, assuming they don't find a missile on Hive Mecha, it'll be interesting to see which one is the launcher, because that is the one that Logic actually expects you to get first. this launcher is always the first one you pick up. And it is indeed Morph Ball on high mech.
Oh dear. That's something you don't want to see early, because then we're going on a wild goose chase for missiles. But that does mean our next progression is space jump.
Well, and actually, since our runners do have bombs, they can at least check the tunnel here in Ruined Nursery.
They could also get nothing if they chose.
If they wanted to, I suppose. Would not recommend it per se. Ooh, and main power bombs. Okay.
Okay, so we got small bombs and big bombs before 5 minutes. Uh-oh, AeroRaiser having a little trouble navigating this room that's laced with bees?
Yeah. With how small this room is, these war wasps can be a major issue if you're not careful.
Oh no, Tryrex just scooted a little bit too far to the right there.
Yeah, unfortunate. The trigger for that fight surrounds the entire bridge. Basically, the shape of the bridge is the shape of this trigger, so you have to be really careful about not touching the bridge.
Alright, AeroRaiser going to immediately retrieve space jump boots, which means probably going to check frigate crash site before heading back to Cho. Nope, is electing
Still needs
to...
missiles for that.
Right.
He's gonna have to make a triple circle here for all of this.
Yeah, space jump does put all 3 of those main plaza items we've seen into logic, though.
Yeah, so I'm curious which one's the actual launcher.
Luckily, Tryrex had very little trouble with Hive Mecha despite the added time delay.
Yeah, very nice.
I wonder how efficient power bombs would make that fight.
I'm not sure, to be honest. The wasps are a fair distance apart, although they should still be in the explosion, I suppose.
Alright, Tryrex is going to
Looks like
get
he's
main
opting
P-bot.
for ledge.
Alright, Tryrex now has main PBs.
Now, arrow finding an expansion, so that was not technically the one the logic expected you to get first.
Doesn't look like it. Yeah, because in Randomizer we do now distinguish between the main launchers, and with main power bombs being found, that means the logic now expects us to use power bombs as well. Oop, Tryrex a little low on energy, and we got
There's boost ball.
There we go.
Very morph ball heavy start here, for sure.
Indeed. Oh, it looks like AeroRaiser triggered the beetle cutscene. Not a big deal with space jump in tow.
Nah. Also, since he got the item, the little invisible wall is gone, so... Not repeating my little whoopsie from last night. Ooh, was that a visor?
It sure is.
X-ray. Okay.
Oh, don't tell me OP's required. Again?
Well, early X-ray doesn't necessarily mean that, but certainly leaves the option open.
It's one of the 3. It's one of the 3 blueprints for Root Cave. 4 actually, because space jump as well. But we still need grapple beam and.
Oh, the half pipe was the launcher. Good guess, there, Chris.
Oh, and we can see what's in the tree, and it's more missiles. So, yep, complete missile plaza today.
Arrow opting to get all of the available missiles, not a bad choice. Missile management is very important for Prime, so...
Especially if you get the beam combos nice and early. Surely our runners will like to see super missiles and ice spreader before Exo. And AeroRaiser choosing to go straight from Vault to the elevator. No Magmore access yet due to lack of Variasuit.
Looks like he's going to clear out the mecha section of Chozo, which is a good idea. There's a couple of items you can get pretty quickly here. Ooh,
Like,
plasma.
okay. Plasma before anything.
It looks like Tryrex might have forgotten about return to start. Looks like he's walking back.
Alright, AeroRaiser's going to check the other item in gallery, and it's even more missiles. And without missiles, unfortunately, Tryrex will not be able to check hints right away. You hate the...
Oh, go ahead.
You hate these late missile starts because as somebody who really enjoys the hint system in games, I really like to get hints earlier rather than later, and just not getting the tools for them is always frustrating.
Yeah, I guess for me, I don't mind not having my hints beyond just routing them in efficiently, but it's like Arrow is likely heading that direction. Speaking of.
Yep, second warp to start on his end of the day.
Certainly makes a big difference with routing, I can tell you that much.
You know, actually, we literally just need Grapple Beam by Logic to put both Root Cave and Arbor Chamber into Logic.
You'll have to see if either of our runners opt to ignore that.
TGC is already predicting Arbor Chamber is going to have Variasuit, which I wouldn't put it past the game. If there's one thing I've learned about Randomizer, if the logic can place something there, it will place something there. Not Arbor Chamber specifically, just a location. Like if the logic says it can be, then it will be.
Find out what sort of seed we've got this morning. Should be interesting.
Indeed. Tryrex being very careful against these scarabs because literally that can happen.
Oh yes, many of runner have lost their runs to this for no reason. Ooh, and wave beam.
Alright, so we've got 2 beams before Flagra. And we'll see how soon AeroRaiser elects to check hints. I typically see runners, if they don't check them right away, they'll check them at a time when, at such time when the world opens up.
Yeah, it's really comes down to your preference in routing. For myself personally, knowing where they are right away so I can route specifically around them is preferable, but some people like to have most of their options open before they start considering it.
Beetles.
Ooh, this is kind of dangerous. Tryrex.
Yeah, interestingly is not, although with the low health, I would wager is just trying to be super safe and not accidentally take a death here before checking the tunnel. AeroRaiser, meanwhile, will check Frigate Crash Site. This should be a fairly easy to do with this. Not easy per se, but should be doable with a scan dash. What even is up there? That is Spider Ball.
Very much want to get that. You can.
Okay, now we've got all ball upgrades, and it's not even 12 minutes.
Yes, definitely a very morph heavy seed.
Yeah, especially when we get the morph ball upgrades early, that's when I really start to suspect Mines, because Mines uses Spider Ball especially a lot.
Right. We're gonna need our ice beam to really start considering that.
True, but there are a lot of locations open to us. We basically have the Chozo care package at the moment with all ball upgrades.
Well, we're getting
PPC, MQB,
transport access. Okay.
Fiery Shores, Fendrana Canyon, and Storage Caverns. So MQB is not bad at all because there's a save station right there. You can easily make that your last artifact if you're in go mode.
Yes, if this had been the older randomizer, that would have been awful, but with save to start, that's actually, like, really good.
Yeah, as of the last 24 hours, the game really just loves to place artifacts in deep mines.
Yes, that does seem to be the trend, doesn't it?
Alright, looks like Root Cave is AeroRaiser's next stop here.
Looks like Tryrex is also opting to clean out Hype Mecha Chozo. Arrow going for the grapple skip. Very nice. There's a few different setups you can do with that scan, or combat dash. Looks like Arrow just went for it instead of doing one of the setups. Also forgetting he had X-ray for a moment. I've done that plenty of times. There's a couple missiles though.
So plenty of missiles, no various suit. Still a good chunk of Chozo open to us, especially with Wave Beam.
For sure.
Tryrex is still getting bullied by the local wildlife here in Chozo.
Got a little health now though.
Yeah, 10-year-old me was pretty scared of this place growing up, not gonna lie.
Can't say I blamed you.
Alright, Tryrex trying to avoid getting blast capped there. Yeah, sorry TGC, there's no various suit in Arbor Chamber today.
And Chad does raise a good question of where the heck all of the E-tanks are.
Good question.
It's very unusual to have almost 50 missiles without at least one at this point.
Yeah, and we already know Main Plaza Tree doesn't have one, and yeah, we basically cleared out the entirety of Morph Ball side Chozo without without any upgrades. Yet, Tryrex, you do not want to take all these scarabs to the face. Yeah, literally the most dangerous enemy in Metroid Prime, at least in Chozo Ruins.
Since Arrow opting to go check his Tower of Light, definitely a reasonable play. He's got everything he needs for it, so it's completely in logic at the moment.
Oh, I saw what looked like a non-missile item in Ruined Fountain.
Ooh, I missed it.
Chat's saying it might have been a suit.
Suit or a nothing then. We'll have to check with Arrow.
Indeed. Now, it should be noted that Tower of Light itself, because we currently don't have a missile requirement for that check in Randovania, cannot ever have progression at the very moment. So, Arrow's skipping it and going straight to Tower Chamber for more missiles.
Tryrex opting to move to mid Chozo. Definitely a reasonable play from his position. Oh, and there's your grapple beam, so.
Well, there's your root cave logic, but
yeah.
Too bad it's not helping us today.
Yeah, this is unfortunate for Tryrex since we know Wave Beam is on Artifact Temple. He really needs to head that direction sooner rather than later. But his Spider Ball is also in logic now, so when he does head that direction, he can definitely get both those items.
And yep, Tower of Missiles being Tower of Missiles.
Consistency is impressive.
Alright, what have we got in... Looks like more missiles. Actually, no, that's...
Power Bomb.
Yeah. I was about to say, it's not going up and down as much as a missile tank would.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Tryrex will not be able to get to the upper dynamo item, whereas Arrow will, so we'll have to see if that comes into play at all here.
Yes, Upper Dynamo has been a burn to many a runners. AeroRaiser and I, last month, did some cross-game multi-world practice, and Upper Dynamo ended up having a basically a logic-breaking, busting thermal visor, because it was needed for, like, a lot of stuff in our seat, as it turns out.
That is indeed a suit.
That is Phazon.
Ooh.
Well, so by logic, Flogger is required.
Yes, Arrow could get it now if he knew any of the setups. I don't know if he does, though, so we might still see Flogger here.
Yeah, Sun Chamber still has a decent-ish chance of being required in these settings. It's not super common, but There's a decent chance in these settings. I think in no tricks, it's much higher.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It looks like Arrow is opting to unlock the gate. There is a method to skip the gate, but it is fairly frustrating to get the first time, so I can understand just opening it.
Ooh, and
Tryrex finds gravity.
Yeah, gravity in Gathering Hall. That's not a bad spot for that suit, all things considering.
Yeah, also means Spider Ball is supremely in logic now, but just have to go and get it.
Alright, so Phazon Suit and Plasma Beam already pretty much knocks out Deep Minds having anything related progression-wise besides the artifact in MQB.
Arrow opting to go to Flogger immediately. That's an interesting play.
Yeah, we saw last night that last night in the Mighty Caesar Lenifus race that this ended up playing extremely well because Wave Beam was on Ghosts.
Ooh.
And the game gave Super Missiles and Spider Ball very early. In this case, the game only gave us Spider Ball, but even still, that does mean early Wild will be relatively simple today. Unfortunately, except for the part where we still don't have an energy tank.
Oh yes, I'm amazed, to be honest. This is
Me?
very unusual.
Me too. Tryrex will now be fighting Zoid here. Maybe we'll see an energy tank in the back. What you really want to watch out for when you're fighting Zoid is to not get pinned by the fire, especially on zero energy tanks.
Yeah, that might be why he's opting to stand directly on Zoid's head instead of on the side, like most runners do. It isn't as efficient, but it does mean there's no chance of the flamethrower just randomly grabbing onto you. Arrow has to be careful with Flogger here as well. With zero E-tanks, if he gets a few swipes at you, he can put you in a bit of danger.
Yeah, and I don't remember if during any of those save warps AeroRaiser took any safety saves.
I don't recall either. Oop.
Case in point, case in point!
Yeah. Flogger will...
Oh my...
Finding Varia.
All suits before Flogra.
Dang. Well, technically... two. Still... Oh, and supers.
Okay, now Ghost is in play. Now you do Ghosts.
Very much an option. I'm afraid this is going to push Tryrex to go into Magmore instead of going back for his artifact hints, though. He really needs to head that way. Like, right now.
Very true. That was one of...
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, that is one of the most loaded Zoids I have ever seen.
For sure. The Wave Beam and Spider Ball give a ton of mid-prime access, so he really needs to find them before he heads towards Vendrana. Ooh, Arrow almost getting smacked by Zoid's Spine there at the end.
That's scary. There's been a couple of those already today. Now, what is actually down there? It's a beam combo. It's either a beam combo or a power bomb. I think that might actually be flamethrower.
I missed it, so we'll have to see when the cutscene ends.
It looked orangey, didn't glow. It's either a power bomb or flamethrower, if you ask me.
It's
Yep.
Arrow is not happy about that one.
Ah, the good old validator. It never escapes. Luckily, there is a full energy refill here.
Yes, those boxes drop 2 Ultra Energies and 2 25 missile drops, I believe.
I don't know if they're 25s, but they're definitely high missile ammo.
They're higher than normal, for sure. Oh, and Tryrex finding thermal. Tryrex is in an excellent spot here if he goes back for his Spider Ball or Wave Beam.
Yeah, and AeroRaiser is in fact going for Ghosts immediately, and we do know this is in logic already, courtesy of the Zoid Supers. I'm wondering if AeroRaiser is going to put off Zoid with this equipment. Although that's going to be virtually impossible since Varia suits there, and we do have a artifact in Magmore.
Yeah. It'll depend on... Well, actually, he has no E-tanks. So he's probably going to head towards Void just by a factor of him literally having no other choice.
Yeah, this low energy tank seed is not something I'm used to seeing in Prime 1 specifically.
Yeah, if we get out of Chozo without a single one, this will be probably the most energy dry seed I've seen in a long time.
Surely, and not to mention also Ghost without super missiles, which is not the worst since we have X-ray visor, but even still.
Ooh, Tryrex, I was really hoping Tryrex was going to return to start there, but it looks like he's opting to go back and check the water item here. Arrow gets a missile first troubles at the same time.
Well, Arrow has not seen the Phazon suit yet in Ruined Fountain, I don't think. So Arrow's actually going to probably be slightly relieved seeing and
Ice Beam. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I'm sorry, are we literally in no mode already?
Yes. If Tryrex goes back, he will be in no mode.
Cause yeah,
just have to fight Flogger at that point.
Because, yeah, Thermal Visor's not hard gating anything. Super Missiles aren't hard gating anything. Yet, no, Cetus Frius. Literally everything in Chozo.
Except for energy. But who needs that?
I don't think we're going to go fight final bosses with 0 energy tanks, do you?
I would do it. Ooh, Arrow going back for his Phazon. Gonna be his first suit, actually.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Ooh, actually, Jed brings up another fun point. E-Tank Go mode?
Yeah, I have never seen that before in my life.
Yes, I can't say I have either.
The good news about Phazon suit being the first suit is that it does not gate anything.
Yeah, so I'm sure Arrow is very happy to have that right away because he doesn't know where his last few items are, although he'll find them in a moment. But Phazon does have the largest pool of locations, so actually, I guess technically Thermal has the largest, since it can be literally everywhere with the right settings, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, I think in these settings, thermal locks do count, are taken into account. But yeah, no, realistically, if you factor that out, thermal hard gates absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Except an easier essence fight.
So I think this is going to come down to if Arrow checks for his Ice Beam here, and when Tryrex finally gets back to Artifact Temple.
Well, maybe Upper Dynamo will actually have an energy tank here.
Arrow
And also,
getting his Ice Beam. Unfortunately here, I feel like this puts Arrow at a very, very high advantage.
yeah, because Tryrex is going and clearing out Far Chozo here, which we now know has nothing of significance besides maybe another super combo.
He doesn't have his Wave Beam, so he can't go back to Crash Frigate. So he's gonna, and he doesn't seem to remember Warp to start, so he's gonna have to make the trek all the way back to get those items.
And yet we're seeing that Upper Dynamo. Will we finally get an energy tank? No!
Holy crap. This is just getting ridiculous.
Did whoever generated the seed forget to actually set the energy tank count to 14? No, I'm kidding.
I would certainly believe it at this point. This is incredible.
I'm surprised Arrow went and got that Powerbomb expansion despite having mains and an extra already. But I guess you can never have enough power bombs in this game, especially with the drop system.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely don't blame him for picking that up. Safety with power bombs is always a good thing.
Especially for Essence.
Oh yes. Arrow attempting to do the quick climb for this room. Getting a little stuck on the ceiling. He just needs to go straight up. Yep. There you go.
And this is going to give Arrow his gravity suit. So that's going to be... The nice thing about having all the suits like this is it also does give you 50% resistance. And I do need to correct myself from a commentary I did earlier this week where I was under the impression that suits were not cumulative in resistances. Turns out they are.
It depends on the settings.
Yeah.
I believe most people turn on cumulative.
Yeah, for the tournament settings, it's cumulative. I thought for some reason that it was set to standard.
Yeah, just so people are aware, in Vanilla Prime, each suit has a set defense rate. Varia is... I actually don't remember what Varia is.
It's 10 for Varia, 20 for Gravity, 50 for Phazon.
Yes, thank you. So, in the any percent runs, when you jump from Varia to Phazon, you immediately jump to that 50% damage reduction. In the randomizer here, you only get the 50% damage reduction when you have all three suits, regardless of which ones you actually have.
Zoe being a little rude there to AeroRaiser. I'm pretty sure absorbing that power bomb shot. Not power bomb, charge beam. Oh, that is a bad spot. Yeah, Arrow's last save was a while ago for sure, so a death here would be pretty costly, especially with everything Arrow's picked up in the last 10 minutes.
Oh yes, this would put Arrow in a very bad spot. He would have to get essentially everything all over again. Did he save after defeating Flagra? I don't remember.
I don't think so. Pretty sure he went straight to Watery Hall.
Yeah, so that would be an immense disadvantage for him.
Now, unfortunately, Tryrex is now on the layer of Ghosts and Arboretum, so this is going to be an extremely tough climb, especially with no energy tanks. Looks like about average RNG for AeroRaiser.
And getting his Varia suit. This does place him in go mode.
Yeah, literally Cetus Frius.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he gets his thermal visor, but he has everything he needs to beat the game now.
Go mode at the 30-minute mark. I don't think we've seen that a lot yet.
No, definitely not. Oh, looks like Arrow is opting to skip his thermal, so he'll have to be a bit careful with his essence fight, but not the biggest issue in the world for sure.
Since when do we hit go mode without a single energy tank?
Yes, I think at this point we've done all of Chozo except for Ice Beam's room, and we haven't found a single energy tank.
Nope. Just missiles and power bomb expansions.
Certainly an unusual setup for sure.
And literally everything else. We also haven't seen the magma pool section and training chamber section either.
Oh yes, good point.
Although, there could be a beam combo in there, but there's really no reason to go there by this point.
Yeah, at this point, Arrow just needs to go get his artifacts. I would be immensely amazed if he didn't find at least one E-Tank just on the way. So,
yeah, especially since we're traveling through mid-Magmore, something's got to show up in, like, Shore Tunnel, maybe Lower Fiery Shores. Alternatively, maybe the first energy tank was just chilling down here in Transport Tunnel B this whole time.
No, this was a power bomb, if I recall correctly.
Oh, it was, you're right.
Yes.
Maybe all the energy's just chilling in Fendrana.
Like Rex is opting to be very careful with his Flogger fight. Very understandable. As we saw with Arrow, Flogger can definitely cause problems if you're not careful.
Yeah, one tickle from the tentacle I think does 10 damage.
And it can hit you multiple times before the cutscene starts, so you can take a lot of damage very quickly. Oop.
Yeah, Arrow having grapple beam is definitely going to, this is definitely going to make Arrow's life a lot easier. But if we finally get the first energy tank in Lower Fiery Shores.
30 minutes in. Ooh, looks like Tryrex might be taking a death here. He's gonna have to be very, very careful. In fact, he should probably just do the solar panels instead of the fast threats.
And it looks like that is what they're doing.
Yeah, no, definitely understandable in this situation. If he makes one mistake, Vlogger will kill him, so he really needs to take it slow.
Yeah, meanwhile, AeroRaiser getting blasted by the, or not getting blasted per se, but they're getting dodging bullets here from all the monitor station defense turrets.
Curious as to why Tryrex isn't using his missiles against Vlogger. Ooh,
Oh, that's
unfortunate.
wiped. Yep, that's what happens when Leaf Blade is used on the right target. It's super effective. Wait, wrong series.
I believe he did make a safety save though, so he didn't get set too far back, luckily.
Yeah, I'm looking at the middle count. They do have to go retrieve Ice Beam.
Ooh. Okay, well, not the worst in the world. Arrow double checking his artifact locations. Should be relatively quick on the cleanup here.
Yeah, luckily it was just Watery Hall, and with Space Jump in tow, this is a pretty quick pickup.
So if I'm willing to bet Arrow's probably going to route this so his mine's artifact is last. That would allow him to immediately return to start back to the ship and finish the game. So
As if the seat hasn't delivered enough already, it gives us Ice Spreader and Triclops Pit. This is literally all the offensive equipment you need to finish the game.
yeah, there's absolutely nothing else you want here. So I'm guessing he's going to ignore everything except energy tanks at this point.
Safe bet. Yeah, we know this is an artifact, so...
Actually, we're only missing Wave Buster,
Pretty much.
so have to see if that pops up anywhere.
It's probably just on OP or something.
The least favorite brother of the super combos, unfortunately for it.
Yeah, just too ammo expensive.
And it doesn't have the meme quality that Flamethrower has, so it just kind of gets left behind more often than not.
Unless, of course, you are a fan of Ghostbusters.
There is that.
But yeah, it looks like Tryrex is going to take another stab at Flogger here.
He most likely saw his phase-on suit, so he knows he has to do this. So definitely understandable why he'd be focused on getting it done.
Yeah, it's like you said, if you don't know any of the standable terrain or other various tricks for getting Phazon suit without Flagra, then or Rune Fountain, I should say, without Flagra, then yeah, this Rune Fountain could be a pretty painful check. It's basically the equivalent of Mining Plaza in Metroid Prime 2, except not nearly as many steps.
While Arrow is making his way towards Vendrana. Or into Vendrana, I should say.
Yeah, there were 2 artifacts, I think, here, if memory serves. There was Canyon and... I feel like there's one more in here somewhere.
Transfer tunnel. That's what it was.
Okay.
So most likely Arrow will be running to Canyon and then leaving. And just going through Magmore to get to the other half of Vendrana because mines, or labs and Thardis are both very slow. Another miss.
And I think there's an energy tank in the lighthouse.
Is there? I think he's actually gonna get it.
You know
He
what?
is.
Given the E-Tank situation, I do not blame him.
I can't say I do either.
You know, short but sweet would be the best way to define this seed.
Certainly a very unique one. I'll give it that.
Surely. Definitely, logic-wise, the jettest seed I've seen this tournament.
For sure. The only way this could have been any more is if the artifacts were more early game than late game, honestly.
That is true. Like, if all the rest of the artifacts were just chilling in Far Choso or Great Tree or something.
Yeah. Pretty much. Or Magmore. Magmore's not bad either.
Very true. Lava Lake. Short Tunnel would have been nice, but Short Tunnel, I think, was more missiles. If not a power bomb.
Yeah. They're opting to scan the posts instead of doing the alternate climb, I see.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know if Arrow feels ahead based on the way he's routed things. Certainly, we know he is very far ahead, but I wonder if he's just thinking to take it nice and smooth, especially considering that, again, he's already in logical go mode.
It's always hard to tell in these situations because you found everything really quickly, but it's impossible to say whether your opponent did the same. Especially with something as ridiculous as this seed.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he feels pretty good that he's in go mode, but if I were in his situation, I wouldn't just assume I'm super far ahead of my opponent given the situation.
Surely, yeah. Especially since we have a blockbuster 34 entrants in this tournament, you really never know who you're going to be up against.
And there's always the chance for a mix-up. So, meanwhile, Tryrex finally defeating Flogger and getting his flamethrower for his troubles.
Yeah, most likely is going to turn around for Ghost, which is fully in logic in their end, given Super Missiles and Spider Ball.
Well, he doesn't have his Spider Ball.
Oh, right, no
so
Spider
we'll
Ball.
have to see if he knows the energy tank number 3. Very nice. We'll have to see if he knows early wild or if he opts to go for it or not.
Told you they were all chilling in Fendrana.
Yeah, you weren't wrong. It looks like he's opting to not do that.
Yeah, and luckily this will actually play out in Tryrex's favor since there is no need for... since the Ghosts don't have anything important today.
Arrow actually opting to go fight Thardus instead of going back through Magmore. It's an interesting choice.
There's a way...
I don't think Thardus had an artifact, did he?
No, Thardus didn't have an artifact. I wonder if Arrow's just going to grapple around it or something.
I believe the door locks, so... Oop. Oh, he's trying to avoid the fight trigger. Okay. Oh, very nice from Arrow there. Very nice.
Might just check Quarantine Monitor real quick, see if there's another spare energy tank in there.
Oh
Nope.
my goodness.
Power Bomb number 3.
They're only missing one now. There are 4 power bomb expansions and 14 energy tanks.
And a ton of missiles and 6 nothings.
The energy tank layout in this seed is something else.
Yeah, if I can't remember where the other Fendrana artifact is, but I think it's in was it Security Cave?
Right here.
Oh no, right here, Transport Access North.
Yeah. Looks like Tryrex finally opting to head back to Talon, so he'll be getting his Wave Beam and Spider Ball shortly here. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a little too late here. Arrow has a massive lead over Tryrex at this point.
Yeah, and I think this one just basically comes down to routing and comfort with low energy, I think is the best way to describe it, because Arrow has, while both runners have had some increasingly close calls, and although Tryrex did take the KO on Flogger, they both demonstrated some pretty nice abilities to think on the fly at low health.
But yes, make no mistake, what they've done is very impressive. Prime is a very hard game to play through with such low energy, so definitely very good on both of them for managing to do as well as they have.
Yeah, Echoes is about equally difficult with low energy traversal, but at least it has a better drop system. Not the case with Prime.
Yeah, so Prime's drop system, so I guess we should say Echo's drop system is at least partially based off of the current player, or the player's current inventory, so health count, missile count, so on and so forth. Prime's drop system is a purely random chance. Each room has a pickup generator, which has a set percentage of activation rates. So say the pickup generator has a 50% chance to activate whenever it's triggered. But on top of that, each of the individual pickups, so each health pickup, each missile pickup, so on and so forth, also have their own drop rates. So even if the pickup generator triggers, you still don't necessarily actually get a pickup at all.
And that's artifact number 5 for AeroRaiser, so now it's just a trip on down to MQB, and then to the save station, and then that's it.
Yes.
Depends on how
A little bit of a long trek for Arrow, but luckily he'll just be able to leave right at the end, so
there's like
worse.
5 or 6 items on the way down too. There's Central Dynamo, there's Vent Shaft, there's a few chances at another energy tank along the way. I imagine that if Central Dynamo is an E-tank, Arrow might actually go for it.
We'll have to see. 3 tanks, we'll have to see how comfortable he is with 3 tanks. That 3 or 4 is typically what runners are comfortable with, from my experience.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what he decides to do.
Super Missiles plus Ice Spreader will also make Exo a lot more comfortable.
Sure.
You know, it's a good thing this is in NTSC 1.0, otherwise those Ice Pirates would be way harder to deal with.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Ice Pirates went from the easiest of Beam Pirates to probably the worst, honestly. That's a nothing.
Yep.
Tryrex getting his artifact hints. Oh, one of the puffers hit Invisible Samus in the cutscene there. That was kind of funny.
Lol.
Yes, Samus's location actually is tracked during cutscenes. You can see it when enemies shoot at you when you go into a cutscene, like backwards and stuff like that. She's just turned invisible, typically.
If you're wondering, by the way, why Tryrex's artifact text is different than Arrow's, it is because Tryrex is using a slightly earlier version of Randovania. Still works with the same seed, but just the coloring's different.
It's like Arrow is opting to kill the invisible drone instead of just ignoring it, which you can do. And there is an E-tank in there, so we'll have to see if he wants to get it or not.
Alright, now, a little fun fact about this maze, also programmed by Zoe. This does not look like a great maze already.
Yeah, it's not great.
It could be anywhere from like 17 to... Actually, I'm going to do some counting. Sorry, this requires immense concentration.
Oh, go for it. I can explain stuff afterwards if you want. Ooh, a little fake out there.
5. This is a bad maze. 6 or 7. 43 squares. Yeah, that's pretty bad. So yeah.
That's above average.
Yeah, so that maze can have anywhere from, I think, 17 to 57 squares. Odd numbers only, not counting 53. And 43 is pretty bad.
17 to 55, actually, but yes.
Oh, it's 55, okay.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I've made it a point lately to count the squares because it's always a joy to wonder how bad of that maze can it really get. And it's random per player. It's not like the same for the seed.
or Chad's mentioning they thought there could be a 15 maze. I could be misremembering the low count.
It might be 1555. It sounds like I remember it being like an even number in between the lows and the highs, or like a solid, like only one digit's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they're right. Actually, I think it was 15 to 55. I know the high limit is 55.
Yeah, and for some reason 53 is not available.
That's just a quirk of the algorithm that
That's
Zoid
fair.
used for the maze, I believe.
That's fair.
I think if I recall correctly, I think it has to do with the fact that the maze has to generate a path that always has those two water pools. Like there's always two of them. Sometimes they actually will spawn on top of each other, very rarely. But there always has to be two of them, and I think that might be the reason why 53 gets excluded. Don't quote me on that though.
That'll certainly be worth a little bit of research.
Yeah, I don't recall if that came up.
Metroids. Metroids.
Those guys can certainly get in the way. I don't recall if that ever came up in any of our conversations with Zoid, though. Because the community has spoken to Zoid numerous times over the years.
Surely.
That's why we know some of this stuff.
Yeah. We would like to extend our congrats to Zoid for retirement.
Oh yes, very accomplished career on his end. Hope he has a wonderful time in retirement.
And there's nothing. You get nothing. While Tryrex finally gets their first energy tank in Fiery Shores.
Probably very happy about that.
I think just because of final bosses in general, I don't think this will be a sub-hour seed. It'll be pretty close, but I don't think it's going to be sub-hour.
The in-game time will definitely be sub-hour.
Oh, the in-game time will absolutely be sub-hour. Nice door. You think if there's another energy tank here in Phazon Mining Tunnel, AeroRaiser gets it?
Good question. I certainly wouldn't think so. Phazon Mine Tunnel is ridiculously slow for how small the room is.
Yeah, that's fair.
Looks like he might be opting to skip the MQB item, or Fungal Hull B item as well. Oop. Maybe not. I guess he's just getting the Metroids out of the way. There's another energy tank. Holy moly.
It was literally get all your stuff, get the energy tanks later. Do we have an artifact on OP? No, the last artifact is MQB. How's the seed, to answer your question, chat? It was a jet. AeroRaiser's about to get the last artifact and warp to start.
Yes, this was one of the quickest seeds I've seen in a long time.
Literally everything except a couple of items were in Chozo, and what wasn't was in early Talon.
Except for energy tanks. Energy tanks took a while for some reason.
Baja Blood asks, where was the seed last night?
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't have minded something like this.
Yes, Dark Zero, this room is MQB. Yeah, it's pretty far into mines, which is why normally without warp to start, most runners don't like to go much further than MQA. Because MQA is also the farthest you can go without Plasma Beam.
We're having some difficulty skipping the grapple point. Yes, if this was the older randomizer at this point, it would be faster for or for Arrow to just go through OP, so we would be seeing him fight OP shortly, but luckily for him, that's not the case anymore. There's his last artifact, so he will be moving on to final bosses here in just a moment.
Door, we kind of need you to open. This is a bad time to be suffering from loading issues.
Ooh, that That was a little risky on Arrow's end. He didn't save there, and if he had crashed, I don't know if he could have recovered.
Yeah, because Tryrex is in go mode as well, although may not have picked up Phazon's suit.
Even if he didn't, he doesn't actually need it until the very end, so he can always just go back for it.
That's true.
Wouldn't be as nice as what Arrow's doing, but it wouldn't be the end of the world per se.
And Arrow has saved the ship now, so everything is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's not a whole lot we can say other than, yeah, Cetus Frius, as I like to call it.
Yes, indeed. I guess we can start preemptively explaining Ridley. So the Ridley fight is split into two phases, a flying phase and a ground phase. Due to a error in Ridley's programming, his flying phase is weak to the boost ball. The boost ball also does 50,000 damage per frame. So after this flyby here, we will see Ridley's health melt very quickly. Unfortunately, his health is also capped on his flying phase, so he will have about a quarter-ish of his health left, and then he will move on to his ground phase, where we will have to stun lock him to defeat him quickly.
Unfortunately, this phase is not weak to boost ball.
Yes, most unfortunate. There we go. That's the flying phase done.
And Ridley starts charging immediately, but gets intercepted.
Very nice snipe by Arrow there.
Yeah, it's a little easier to do in Trilogy to snipe Ridley due to the attack being slightly adjusted to have Ridley's head lean back more to the center. But,
very nice by Arrow.
absolutely
Very clean fight.
extremely clean. No, all charges intercepted, none done.
That is the ideal Ridley fight there. The only way that could have gone better is if he had gotten 5 skip, but that's a very hard thing to do. So, a hard thing to do on the regular, so definitely an ideal Ridley fight there.
And yeah, we can confirm now that Tryrex does not have Phazon suit. Hopefully they didn't forget where it was.
That would be unfortunate. Especially with how open the game is, there's a lot of ways he could end up wasting time, unfortunately.
Also, interestingly, that ice did not immediately collapse to Plasma Beam, it needed a missile. Although, to be fair, you don't normally have Plasma Beam by this point. Arrow is making a very, I think, a very wise call here to safety save an Impact Crater just in case, because we've had a couple of matches lately where Essence or Exo have almost led to deaths, and have led to deaths.
Certainly understandable if you're not comfortable with this amount of energy, so. Arrow opting to do the regular climb instead of the quick climb. Oop, and he gets grabbed for his troubles.
Yeah, Jack having some objections to this maneuver.
Yes, indeed.
We call these two Fission Metroids Jack and Jill because they like to make you fall down and get broken on the crowns of this dentist's office.
Arrow opting to not take this small shortcut you can do here. You can do a slight slope jump off of the edge of that little wall and skip the first couple platforms. Also allows you to stay ahead of the Metroid. Ooh, and try also opting to grab the tower energy tank. Certainly can't blame him either.
Yeah, no, it's very uncommon that we have a, it's very uncommon that we have a, an energy tank starve seed.
Yeah, I think Arrow picked up every single one he saw. So we have, it's a big question mark on where the other half of the energy tanks went.
Well, Tryrex is actually going to give us some new information and checking Chozo Ice Temple, and I would assume Chapel of the Elders.
Unfortunate for him. This is only going to push him further behind, but oop, getting a little love tap by the enemies there.
Yeah, for some reason the enemies in Phendrana just absolutely yeet you off platforms, even though they're not really particularly fast enemies.
Arrow getting an ice beam start on this phase. Very nice. Now, opting to not use Ice Splitter though. I suppose he doesn't have too many missiles, so he might want to conserve his ammo for regular supers.
I was about to say, and also might be trying to save for Subchamber 4, because Subchamber 4 can be just extremely painful.
Okay, there, he used one there.
I think that's honestly one of the better spots to use Ice Spreader, because it just lets you skip potentially a wave phase, and you never want to have that.
Yeah, try finding another energy tank. And then unfortunately for Arrow, that was a power phase. So, he did get the super missile to skip the wave phase though, so.
Yeah, as long as you can at least partially skip a wave phase, it's certainly, you're certainly going to take that over none whatsoever, because, yeah, super missiles do 180 damage. Ice Spreader, I think, does over 200, which is how much Exo's per phase health cap is, and Charge Plasma does 100.
Also believe Ice Spreader actually does more, because I know Prime is weak to ice.
That is true.
I don't remember if the weakness extends to Ice Spreader. Either way, it does one full phase of damage, so definitely a very nice item to have this way.
Fun fact for those not aware, the Flamethrower does actually work on Power Form.
That's another error in his programming, similar to Ridley.
Yeah. As I understand it, the final bosses in general are programmed, the programming around them is a mess.
Yes. Well, as I'm sure people know, Prime's development, especially near the end, was very rushed. So there are a number of things that were cut or just kind of left behind as a result. Such as the text that appears after you beat Essence was actually supposed to be for an actual escape sequence where you would escape a much larger impact crater. In fact, in Essence's room, there's even a leftover actor in the wall, which is supposed to be some sort of door based off its internal name. Which most likely would have been the escape route, but it's just left there unused because they ran out of time.
Bummer they didn't add that in for Trilogy. Maybe that when they remake the Prime games again for Switch, they'll add that in. Doubt it though.
Most likely not.
Also, you really want to watch out for those.
Ooh, Arrow getting absolutely smacked by Prime here.
Yeah, you absolutely want to watch out for those ice bombs, because, especially the plasma ones, because if those hit you, you're taking almost a full energy tank of damage per bomb. And unfortunately, Arrow is out of missiles.
Oh yeah, Ted does bring up a good point. So when I say error in programming, I'm just putting it simply. Each enemy has a list of all of the weapons in the game, and then for each of those weapons it has set weaknesses, so regular damage, double damage, and vulnerable. And for Prime and Ridley, their damage values for Boost Ball and Flamethrower just happen to be on the wrong settings. So that's why they acted that way.
Exo was
also the same thing for Flogger and Flamethrower?
Flogger and Wavebuster.
Yes, that's what it was.
But yeah, no, Arrow just got done dealing with a very charge-happy Exo there for a second there. But luckily ended on a plasma phase, so wasn't too bad.
Yeah, no, definitely could have been a lot worse. And then to answer another chat question. The Metroid Prime is just a Metroid. A very mutated Metroid. It's not an X-Parasite.
Yeah, the sort of Corex looking thing at the end was just a coincidence.
Yeah, it's supposed to just be... I think the idea was it's supposed to be like the actual Metroid. Just like... very, very, very mutated. It looks like Aero is opting to do the fast reaction time here, so to try to explain what's going on quick. The Metroid Prime fight is actually extremely railroaded. Prime has a set number of actions that it does per each of its phases, and an action can include attacking, moving, anything that it does physically, and it basically just goes down a set number of those before it spawns the next pool. So what you can do is you can interrupt one of those actions by shooting it with Hyper Beam as it's attempting to do that. The game will register that it did the action and move on to the next one. So if you do that enough times, you can essentially force Prime to immediately spawn the next pool almost as soon as it spawns the last one.
Yes, and what you're also seeing Aero do is enter and exit the pool in this way to constantly enter and exit hyper mode. And what this does is it prevents the pool from draining immediately. Like firing the first shot doesn't result in a decrease of the overall phase on pool duration. So end result is you get to do way more damage than intended. It's possible, I think, to do Essence in 2 pools.
Yeah, but that's TAS only. That requires frame perfect movement in and out of the pool.
That's fair.
High skill runners can do 3 on the regular.
Another thing that's consistent about Essence is the visor switching will always be consistent. It'll always be combat to X-ray to thermal, back to combat.
Yeah. And I guess the last thing to mention, there are a few specific locations in this room where Metroid Prime's AI will check the surrounding collision to try to spawn a pool, and it will decide... Oh, Aero finishes with an official time of 1 hour 5 on the dot. GG's.
Well played by AeroRaiser.
Very well played.
Meanwhile, Tryrex is fighting Thardus.
Fun. I guess to finish my thought before we get our runners in this room here, basically there are spots where Prime will decide it can't spawn a pool, and it will immediately shift to the next visor phase without spawning one at all. Very frustrating.
Oh, yes.
And here's Aero himself. Congratulations.
GG, when I first read the artifacts, I'm like, okay, so this is probably gonna be horrible. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm super missiles from Go mode.
Yeah, we were curious.
Supers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no E-tanks and I'm in Go mode. And I don't have Varia either. How the heck am I getting through Magmore? And then Varia was in the same room. I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine.
Thank you, Zoid.
Yeah. We were kind of curious. What were your thoughts on where you were relative to Tryrex? Did you feel like you were really far ahead, or were you worried that you were behind because of how fast this was?
I actually felt ahead because as soon as I got the Morph Ball, I decided to just immediately, as soon as I got Space Jump, I decided to just rush early Chozo checks and try to route efficiently as possible, which worked out very well. Because if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have gotten X-ray.
So, if you were to guess, what was your what do you think was the decision that was kind of the deciding factor here?
I want to say probably committing to anything after Flagra and Chozo.
No,
I almost didn't bother going to Zoid. I almost decided to go straight to, and the only reason I did is because I didn't have any E-tanks, so I couldn't really get through Magmore. So I'm like, you know what, I'll keep going, see how far I get to Furnace. And then when I got Supers, I'm like, oh. Through Fendrana, I still did checks. I was like, I want 4 E-tanks at the minimum. Yeah. I think I can do it on 2, because all suits, but I wanted 4. And I found 5, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Right, we figured that's probably why you went on to Zoid, even with all the items you had. But no, the deciding factor was actually going to Artifact Temple immediately.
Oh wow, yeah, no, yeah. I was like, if I'm here, yeah, because I got space jump, went to Chozo, got missiles, checked one room, and did the loop and went back to Artifact Temple. Yeah,
Yeah, because doing that allowed you to basically get everything in one go.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then,
because the seed probably wanted you to just go back and forth a lot. Now that I think about it.
Just
yeah,
about, because yeah, I think you made ultimately like 3 back and forth trips between Chozo and Talon in the first 20 minutes.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it wanted at
Warp to start the
least.
thing.
I think
To
it
start
wanted
the
at
thing.
least one more, because you. I think logic expects you
Oh,
to have either
here's some
gravity or
here's
grapple.
some information. Thermal is in furnace.
Yeah, Tryrex actually found that. That's the only thing he
Okay.
has that you don't.
Upper or lower?
Lower.
Lower. The
Lower.
only missing POI on our end is Wave Buster.
Life Grove Tunnel.
Oh,
Oof.
I thought it was chilling on OP.
I was preparing to commit to Life Grove, and then Super showed up. Because my plan when I went to Zoid, after Zoid, my plan was to go to back of Chozo, do that stuff, go to Life Grove, and then probably bar skip into Mines.
Sounds like a reasonable plan, but then of course you just got your go mode. So
Yeah, and I was like, okay.
To be fair, if you had committed to mines in full clear, you probably would have gotten 8 or 9 energy tanks.
yeah, that must.
So it's like,
I really want to know where the rest of them are, because this is a
yeah,
bit
this
ridiculous.
was kind of starved on E-tanks until I got to Vendrana. Then it just started all coming up. I'm like, cool, half the checks I'm getting are E-tanks. So keep them coming.
Yeah, the first energy tank the both of you picked up was Fiery Shores.
Yeah,
And
that's no surprise.
you both opted to get the energy tank in the tower.
Yeah, I saw that and I'm like, you know what? I may not see another one. Let's do it.
Yeah, no,
Let's grab
definitely
it real
reasonable
quick.
in this situation.
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's grab that real quick.
We noticed also
Hmm?
that you chose to. We noticed earlier that you chose to climb Tower of Light. Were you looking for an energy tank up there?
Oh yeah,
Okay, yeah, because right now Tower of
because
Light.
logically it can't be anything
Mm-hmm,
required.
mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, maybe it's an E-tank. If I get the dash first try, if I get the dashes first try, I'll grab it. If I don't, I'm out.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think all in all, between the two of you, there were only 3, maybe 4 items that we didn't see in Chozo, and none of
Yeah.
them were E-tanks.
Oof.
So,
Yeah. No, this was an interesting see. Like when I got the artifact hints, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm in a good spot. Let's check the hints. Going through them, this is fun. This is fun. Oh, MQB. Oh, I need supers.
Yeah,
Lower Mines itself isn't as bad now with warp to start.
absolutely.
So I was like, well, with MQB, man, it's like there's a safe station right there. So as long as supers aren't horrible, you know, like on OP or something, we're fine.
I'm starting to think Tryrex might have either not noticed Phazon or might have forgotten about it, because it seems like he's checking things he doesn't need to.
I hope he didn't accidentally mistake it as a nothing. I had to double take that when I saw it.
Yeah,
I thought Tryrex took 2 looks at it. Like, I thought Tryrex got up super close to see it.
Yeah.
That's how I figured out it was
I
Phazon,
saw
at
that and
least.
I was like, well, there's already a I was already going to Flogger anyway because like in this build there's like an 80% chance of having something.
Yeah, it's less in the tournament settings, but like in No Tricks especially, like it's extremely likely Flogger's progression.
Yeah. I mean technically it locked the Phazon suit.
I mean, you're not wrong, and it also validated everybody's run.
Yeah, I saw that and I'm like, hold on, I need to double take that. And now during the cutscene I was like, oh, that's flamethrower. That's not what I wanted. Oh, he forfeited. He probably just noticed that it was that it was finished. Was
Yeah,
only missing at this point, Phazon?
Yes.
yes.
Phazon in the MQ, Phazon in the 2 Mines artifacts,
That's
although
unfortunate.
they might
That
be
is
getting
unfortunate.
PPC right now before it
I
catches up.
will say that with this seed, what I liked a lot is when I hit go mode, it was literally a straight line to everything as long as I don't accidentally fall into Thardus.
Right. That was a really nice.
I was very careful with that dash because like I do not want to fight Thardus real quick. Like I got plasma, so it's only like 3 or so minutes, but
That was very clean. That was very well done
yeah,
there.
I was very happy with my movement through Vendrana real quickly. Minus Vendrana Canyon when I slid off the ice the first time. They didn't like that.
Yeah, you also had a bit of a close call with the Flogger fight.
Yeah, I saw where my health was, and I'm like, you know what? For cycle 3, let me actually shoot the panels, and then
Yeah.
hope I don't miss on the 4th. Because if I miss on the 4th, I'm dead.
Yeah, and you got bonked a couple of times too. That you scared
Yeah.
us. You both scared
I
us.
knew I was gonna get bumped on those. I was like, I don't like doing this on one E-tank, but that suit. Oh, no E-tanks, but that suit is needed. And then
Yeah,
all
but
the suits just came together.
They
very
really
impressive
did.
work for both of you opting to go that route with 0 E-tanks.
Yeah. I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, I really don't want to do final bosses on 0 E-tanks. That would be scary. Well, EXO would have been scary. Because I think it was, I can't remember if it was chamber 3 or 4. I got punished with ice a couple times.
Yeah. Got
And
smacked around just a little bit.
yeah, so chamber 4 kept wanting to dash, and I'm like, no, stop. Alright, I think I'm going to hop out of here. I don't know if Tryrex is coming in for interview or not. But
We are
GG's.
posing the question right now.
Yeah. GG's, and I'll see everybody for round 2.
Right.
And other races today that I'll hopefully be watching.
Congratulations once
Yep.
again. GG's.
GG's. Later.
Have a good one.
And
Alright,
as
so... Oh, go ahead.
and as
Sorry.
Arrow alluded to, yeah, we got a busy day here, folks. We've got 4 more Prime 1 matches on tap for you this this Saturday. We've got, in just less than 2 hours, we've got Dino Pony versus Metroid MST right here on Speed Gaming. And then another 3 hours later, 2 p.m. Eastern, Vpron versus Reed Whaley. And then on SG5 at 4, we have the Ginger Chris versus Koshi. And at 6 p.m., Digglerath versus Alexis Nightfire. So tons of Prime Rando on tap for you today. And then another 2 matches on Sunday.
Yeah, so definitely catch whatever you can. There's plenty of action this weekend. And I believe we'll be moving on to round 2 shortly after that, if I recall correctly.
All right, so right now we are being told that Tryrex is currently being interviewed on the French restream. So we're going to let that play out. Because we did actually have a French restream for this match today. The Speed Gaming bot has been mentioning it over the course of the morning. But yeah, Gunnar, what are your thoughts on that seed overall? Like, just outstandingly quick.
Yes, I've said this a few times, but I'm very impressed with how well they managed their health, given how few E-tanks they got. It's
Surely.
a little unfortunate that they didn't know some of the really useful skips they could have used in this one. But as a whole, I think they both did very well, and kept it together in some very unusual circumstances.
Indeed, and of course, this is not the end for either of their tournament lives. This is only the first of 6 rounds of Swiss that will be taking place over the course of the next month and a half.
Plenty of opportunities for them to either make a comeback or to keep themselves forward, perhaps.
Yes, it'll certainly be an interesting look-see once we get to that point. And I'll tell you something else I'm excited for once we pass this tournament, put this tournament in the books, is that soon after we should be hosting a cross-game cup for Prime 1 and Prime 2 Multi-World.
Yes, the first of its kind, if I recall correctly, so
Indeed.
should hopefully be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what the SG layout's going to be, because we've normally only featured 2 Prime Runners at a time, but we're going to now see 4 in a race, and yeah, just the feat of technology where we can now see both games being played together, not only played together, but played in a multiplayer style setting in 2021. You know, we're almost like 20 years into Prime 1's life, and now we can play it with other players.
Yes, I cannot give enough shoutouts to the Randomizer development team. They have done some absolutely incredible work on everything we see here. So, massive props to everybody involved in the project. there anything else you'd like to add for yourself, Captain?
You know, I really can't think of anything else to say other than yeah, no, nothing about the seed, but I will say, whoops. I will say, go ahead and that's what happens when you leave your push to talk key on when trying to interact with Twitch chat. I will say, give both of our runners a follow, Tryrex67 and AeroRaiser, who have both put on a fantastic show for you here on this Saturday morning. Shoutouts to Gollop, our amazing tracker, who has done a great job making sure everybody knows who has what, and is still on deck for the 11 o'clock match as well. And Gunnar, it was a pleasure joining you here in the booth for this morning's Epic Prime match.
Yes, same to you, and shoutouts to Gallup. He does a lot of work with the tracking and with the community in general, so always great to have him around.
With that said, I think we're going to hold the episode on air until the French restream is done, at the very least. So, I think in the meantime, though, I think for our part, I think we're going to close out here, wait for the French restream to give the green light, and say thank you for watching, and we will see you next mission, folks. Take care.
Have a good one.